Professor Sigmund, Brent Hannig here, presenting with you assignment number 3. I've stayed up on your announcements, and it looks like you're back to your home in Florida from your road trip out through Las Vegas and then back through the Anasazi ruins, I believe you were going through, and I hope that you accomplished all your goals there. The past couple weeks I've really been putting a lot of time and effort into being able to give you a much more polished presentation, both concentrated on the Prezi program and also on ScreenFlow, as well as doing research into some of the assignments and the quiz questions that you had for us. I do really like the format of you posting the quiz questions so that we can have enough time to study through those and be able to figure out the best way to answer them. So I'm going to do my presentation and then narrate behind it, of course, and then at the very end I will come back on screen and say a few words as we close this out. The headline on today's paper is Picture Power. And so there are several articles on this front page of this newspaper. I'll go through and try to give you a little briefing on what they are. What does visual literacy mean to me now? It means that I can understand and be able to just see more than just a picture or an image sitting in front of me, that I can look a little deeper into that image and be able to interpret what the artist's intent was, and also what is my intent. In this particular picture we have a farmer sitting here with a knife in his hand, blood on his apron. It appears that he's petting the cat, but is that truly what he's doing, or is he trying to console the cat that he just killed one of his farm animal friends? The other animals are sitting here watching this farmer. Are they looking at him as, oh, this guy's being nice to this cat? Or are they in fear that they're going to be the next victim from the knife? So there is a lot of irony and meaning present in a lot of pictures. The context in what this picture is taken and what this artist's representation was can mean a lot. If this, for example, on context, if that same farmer walked into an animal shelter and it's got all these beautiful dogs and cats and rabbit and birds sitting here, would the workers even consider being able to give this farmer with a knife in his hand and blood on his apron a chance at raising one of these abandoned animals? So context to me is very evident in this picture. You mentioned in your lesson and in your lecture the Journey to Freedom collector's plate that was sold by the Franklin Mint. I'm really surprised that the Native Americans or a tribal council did not sue the Franklin Mint over this picture. What is their journey to freedom? From the Great Plains to the glaciers and the cold? Is freedom being pushed out of your native lands into somewhere you don't want to go? And I wonder if the artist did have the intent to exploit the Native Americans' defeat by the military. And, in this particular picture, could have the context been a lot different if it was shown at a military convention where the military was the victors over that, or at a tribal meeting today in the 21st century. So context, I don't know all the meaning behind that. I definitely appreciated some of the stuff that you pointed out as far as the lone rider with his head bowed watching his people on their journey, and that was a Native American symbol for defeat. There are a lot of ways to promote certain products and activities that we get through images, and a lot of these do, I think, give us a fake expectation of, if we drink Coke, are we always going to have a smile on our face? The two examples that I use here are Theory versus Reality. This is the title of the article, and in this picture you can see two different forms of gambling, two different outcomes of gambling. Are gamblers all winners? Well, based on this picture, yes. If you're gambling, you're having a good time, you have some beautiful women around you, your luck is good, the potentials are endless. You might as well be a prize fighter going down the street in your car. This is the perception that you can get from gambling, is everybody's happy, you don't see any of the bad parts. But yet, the picture on the right, would they ever show this if they were trying to promote casinos and gambling? You have an old lady who's been sitting at this slot machine for probably hours. This is her whole life. If she lost all her retirement, Is she still well-to-do? Is she just a robot going to the casino every day? And what's going to be her result? Is her result going to be a fancy car and pretty men to serve her cocktails and rub her feet? Or most likely she's going to contribute to more casinos by being a loser, and being in that environment she's going to end up in the hospital and die of lung cancer because of the habits that she's created. But these are how they wrap us into the idea. Our next headline, or our next article, impact versus influence. There's a lot of things that can have an impact on us, but is it going to be enough of an impact that it's going to make an influence on us and give us the desire to act and to do something about it? In this first picture, you see one militant. This to me doesn't look nearly intimidating as this picture, with a whole group. Appears that they are getting ready to go out and attack somebody. It shows a much greater force. To me, this picture has influence that something is about to happen, whereas this picture has impact of what's going on in the Middle East. This guy has a certain belief. These people are ready to take it to the street and put it into action. Instead of a government democracy, what is visual democracy? Well, in a government democracy, even the poorest of people have the same vote as a rich person. They might not have as much influence, but they get to cast their vote. Their vote counts just as much as a rich person's. So we're all equal as far as that. And that's, I think, what visual democracy means today, is that unlike the old times, like back in the mid-1800s and mid-19th century, the only art that was ever seen was if you went into a tavern or a church. If you were that farmer that was stuck to the field and never traveled more than 5 miles away from your home, you wouldn't get much experience from artists. You wouldn't be able to see much that an artist has done. However, if you were a wealthy person and you lived in a big mansion or a castle to where the affluent artists were displaying their product, then you would get more exposure to that. But today, it doesn't matter if all you can afford to drive is a Ford Pinto. You can still drive down the freeway and see the same billboards and the same artistry that a person who drives a Ferrari can see. So we're all equal in our visual democracy because of the media, because of the internet, because of all of the images that we see, thousands every day. There's no difference. Hey, Professor Sigmund, that's the end of my presentation on assignment number 3. Hopefully you can see some improvements in what I've put together and in the answers. I'm really enjoying what I'm studying and what I'm learning, and being able to get more out of art and pictures and images and understand a little more of what they mean. So, till next assignment, take care.